Hare Krishna, Namaste. The question is, I've been attending many classes, evenings, weekends, also sometime during the weekdays. I'm really enjoying to learn many things, but I'm unable to put them into practice. Do you have any suggestions? Before giving any suggestions, we would like to narrate a story. Once, Indra came to sage Brihaspati and told that his time over here in the earth planet is coming to an end and he must leave this world. Brihaspati requested Indra for an additional 100 years so that he can study some more left out Shastras. Indra granted, and after 100 years Indra came back. He said, "It's time now to leave." Brihaspati said, "I thought I can complete the scriptures, but looks like there's some more left out. May I get another 100 years to live to finish my studies of scriptures?" Indra granted an additional 100 years and he left. This continued for few 100 years. Then at one time when Indra came and said, "It's time for you to leave now," Brihaspati said the same thing. "I need another additional 100 years. I think I should be able to complete this time. Could you please grant me?" At that point, Indra said, "Come with me." And he took Brihaspati to a distant place and he showed something in front of Brihaspati. It was a huge mountain like something where one cannot see the top of it. It's so high and one cannot measure its width and length. Brihaspati asked, "What is this?" And Indra said, "These are the scriptures yet for you to study if you wish to. What you have studied so far is the size of a small rock compared to the size of this mountain of Shastras. There is never end to one's studies. Now you must start applying what you studied." So let's remember this story as we go along to know more on the posted question. So there are two things which are very important: Jnana and Anushtana, that is knowledge and practice. Gaining knowledge is not at all hard, and many times we gain knowledge even without taking steps of our own. And also nowadays with the technology, we don't even have to physically be present. All the classes, lectures, trainings, education, all are being done via the media. Recently, we came to know that there is an artificial intelligence application which can answer any questions regarding Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, or any other scriptures. We ask a question and instantly we get an answer from that application. All these are great, but nothing can replace the human factor, the human interaction. By all these medias, we can become a data collector. All our questions may be answered, but if we don't apply those things in our life, then there's no point in gaining those knowledge. As we learn, we must try to apply those learnings in our life, at least to some extent. As we said earlier, knowledge is not at all a big task to obtain. Many times we already have the necessary knowledge. For example, getting up early in the morning, at least by 4 a.m., and going to the bed at least before 10 p.m., doing yoga or some form of exercise every day, doing prayers and puja every day, eating early dinner before going to bed, not to waste our time spending on unwanted things, not to speak bad about others, be kind to others. Everyone got this knowledge. And even in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says Sukhadukke same kritva labha labho jaya jayo, where he says treat happiness and distress, victory and loss, all this equal. And he is given so many instructions in Bhagavad Gita. All this knowledge are there, and it is not hard to understand. What we said so far, like getting up morning, doing exercise, chanting, etc., it is not difficult to understand these statements. It is easy. But what is difficult in these statements are the application parts. Interestingly, if we observed ourselves, we would notice something. The difficulty that we have is to practice on that knowledge which we already have. We know we have to be good to others, but we don't. We know we should not be talking bad about others, but we do. We know we have to get up early in the morning, but we don't. We know we should go to bed early, but we don't. Isn't it interesting that what we know already are the ones that we are finding difficult to practice? At least if we don't know these things, we can excuse ourselves saying, I don't know, therefore I didn't do it. But in majority cases, what we are not practicing are those which we are already aware of. Now the question is, what is that which stops us from practicing what we already know? We have the jnana, we have the knowledge, but there is no anushthanam, there is no practice. What is that which stops us from practicing? The answer is bhoga, meaning the enjoyment mentality. We know we must get up early in the morning, but that enjoyment mentality puts us back to sleep. We know we must go to bed early, but that enjoyment mentality makes us browse the internet, check messages, watch videos, and finally delay our sleep. We know doing yoga or some form of exercise every day is important, but we keep that as a last priority because some other enjoyment takes over. One doesn't understand, even for one to enjoy the other things, they need to have a fit body. We know we must do chanting, prayers, puja, services every day, but we spend less time on these. But even if we spend enough time on these things, our quality is very poor because we get distracted due to other enjoyment factors. We know we must eat early dinner before going to bed, but it is the enjoyment mentality that drives us to eat at any time, rather not planning our dinner time properly. We know we should not talk bad about others, but we do talk because it pleases our ears and satisfies our tongue. So, from these things we can understand that the mode of enjoyment can never block one's knowledge, block gaining the knowledge. For example, studying well in school will yield me a good result. This knowledge cannot be stopped by the enjoyment mode. Getting up early in the morning, it is both materially and spiritually good for my body and soul. This knowledge is there. It's not blocked by my enjoyment mood. A person who was diabetic knows sugar is bad for his health. He got this knowledge either through doctor or someone. That means the knowledge is not blocked by the enjoyment mood. The sukham. Another one. A person who is trying to do something bad to others knows very well that is not good. That knowledge is there in him, and that knowledge is not stopped by the factor of enjoyment. Through these few examples, what we can understand is that the enjoyment mentality will not stop one's knowledge. But what it does is quite interesting. It stops the application part of that knowledge. It stops one to practice what has been learned, and that is where the problem is. So it is good that we are gaining knowledge through various sources, and that is what the great sage Brihaspati did also. But the instruction from Indra is now start practicing. We understand the question itself is, why am I not able to practice? So the answer is there, where to understand what is stopping us from practicing is not the knowledge, is our mode of enjoyment. So it is important that we hear, we learn, but it is also important that we start implementing what we learn then and there. We don't need to wait for the end, because there's no end in gaining knowledge. Moreover, if we don't start practicing, then we become comfortable just acquiring knowledge and become complacent. We will never do anything in our life. That may even lead one to a point in life where that person doesn't even feel the guilt of not practicing what he or she has learned so far. So the best thing to do to avoid such situation is to first be happy with the knowledge that one has so far, and analyze and start applying what has been learned in a small scale, and also continuously contemplate on what has been heard so far and see how we can apply that in our life in a gradual phase. And a second factor which will really help is to have some spiritual guide in our life who can guide us through in a proper direction. Otherwise, we may be running around in the name of spirituality in all different directions and end up nowhere. We will be like a horse without bridle. So to conclude, the enjoyment mentality will not stop gaining knowledge. It doesn't block the knowledge, but it stops one from implementing that knowledge. So the suggestion is, as we learn, write down those important lessons we learned and try to start implementing them before gaining more knowledge. Or as we keep on gaining knowledge, we parallelly must start implementing what we learned. The problem why we are not able to do that is because of the Sukhabhoga, the enjoyment mentality. It is best to have a spiritual guide in our life who has both knowledge and who practices. With the guidance of such person, one will be able to start practicing what has been learned. Thank you. Hare Krishna.